42% of Gen Z suffers from depression, 53% is struggling with anxiety, and a whopping 57% from stress. This is simply not sustainable. We need to find a solution, and in order to do that, we first have to properly identify the problem. As the saying goes, once you can clearly write down the problem, the matter is half resolved. There are a lot of theories and scapegoats the media has tried to put out about why this is the case. Social media, the economy. Some have even tried to blame it on Gen Z themselves by saying they're overdiagnosing their own mental health issues. These are all valid concerns without a doubt, but, in my opinion, these are symptoms of the problem and not the root cause itself. The ultimate root cause of all of these issues is society, and more specifically, societal expectations and the pressure to live up to them. Let's take the issue of social media, for example. This understandably causes a lot of depression and anxiety when you're constantly bombarded with images and reels of the most beautiful, popular, and successful people in the world. You look at your own average self, and of course you feel inadequate. But here's the thing. Social media may have exacerbated this problem, but it didn't cause it. As a millennial, I have a bit of a different perspective on this, as I had the privilege of growing up without social media. I grew up in a hyper-materialistic community where both the kids and adults were constantly and obsessively comparing themselves to each other. Who got the better grades? Who made the most money? Who could buy the most fancy crap that they didn't even need? Looking back, it was all such petty, immature nonsense, but people were like that in the booming 90s economy. People weren't as open as discussing mental health issues back then. Big respect to Gen Z for destigmatizing that. But when I look back at it, just about everyone from the community I grew up in suffered crippling depression, anxiety, and mental health issues. A lot of even the most successful straight-A students ended up burning out and having mental health breakdowns, all long before social media existed. You see, the root cause of all this is ultimately the unrealistic expectations society has put on you. To be rich, successful, good-looking, to be the best at everything. And thus, when you fail to live up to these impossibly high expectations, you feel like a failure and a loser. It can manifest itself through a real-life community or through a smartphone, but the root cause comes from the same place nonetheless. But this is the thing. Once you realize this, you'll realize societal expectations are nothing more than just another subjective guideline people who are no smarter than you try to use to make sense of their lives. But once you realize and break free of this, a whole new world of possibilities opens up. Let's say you are terribly out of shape and miserable right now. You need to improve your physical health for yourself, if no one else. You log on to Instagram and you see all these incredible fitness models and athletes, and you just feel like giving up because you'll likely never reach that level. You can't even do one pull-up and you're bombarded with reels of a GigaChad gymnast doing 100. What's the point of even trying? You ask yourself. But then you watch this video and you realize you can do it for yourself without needing society's approval or praise. You dedicate the next few months into getting in shape, and eventually you get to a point where you can do several pull-ups with ease. The brutal, honest truth is that no one else is going to care about or be impressed by this. It's not going to go viral on TikTok. It's not going to impress any girls. It's not going to get you any job or any money. And so, despite a tremendous amount of improvement you've made, you still don't feel good about yourself. You feel like all your effort was wasted for nothing. But see, this is only if you are a prisoner to society's expectations. If you learn to decouple yourself from society and just let out a massive "fuck you, society. I don't need your approval to feel better about myself," then you'll realize you did something incredible. You leveled up tremendously. You took the initiative to improve your life and your health, and even though society doesn't care about it, you can be proud of yourself for it. You can feel good about it. Give yourself permission to feel good about all the wonderful things you've accomplished in your life, no matter how trivial it may have been. Whether it was achieving a gold trophy for a random feat in a PS5 game, doing one single pull-up, going to sleep and waking up earlier, even if no one else cares, even if society doesn't care. You have every right to feel good about every positive thing you've done, no matter how big or small it may have been to society and the outside world. After all, who is society to tell us what we can and can't feel good about, when this society has been an absolute dog shit train wreck of a failure itself? When I was a teenager, I fell in love with the game of basketball, and I set a new life goal for myself: making the NBA. I was and still am actually insanely good at basketball. I ended up playing semi-pro and overseas, better than 99% of people. But like most young hoopers, I never came close to making the NBA, and that always haunted me for a long time. Even though I was better than 99% of people, I always felt bad about myself because of the absurd, unrealistic standards society has. As a result, I became so jaded that I couldn't even enjoy the game of basketball for a while. I stopped playing, stopped watching, stopped really caring about it at all whatsoever. But after I realized everything I just told you about in this video, something magical happened. A few days ago, I went to shoot around by myself, and for the first time since I was a teenager, I legitimately enjoyed the game of basketball. My shot felt good. I made about 10 shots in a row. I threw down some sick dunks. It was so fun and satisfying. I realized that even though I'm never going to make the NBA, making the NBA is just an unrealistic expectation set by society anyways. For the first time in 20 years, I enjoyed it for myself, and that's really all that matters.